Hello, this is Will Faerber from Art to Ride. Today I'm sharing with you a little bit of the clinic from Holland. This is Yvon Overvorst, who's one of our associate trainers over there and the one who put on this particular clinic along with her sister Diane. So this is one of the early days as we see him. He's getting into the stretch. She's doing a really good job of getting him into it. He's a little bit inconsistent, but she's doing a very nice job of moving him off her inside leg into that outside rein, though he still is a little bit inconsistent. As you see, once in a while he pops his nose up there. But she does exactly the right thing when that happens, is she just goes back to what she was doing. She doesn't let it, kill everything that she's doing, nor does she punish the horse severely for doing so. Horses are going to skip from time to time a beat, or they're going to, pop their head up from time to time. It looks like something's bothering him a little bit there in the noseband, maybe a bug or something like that. But we don't make a big deal of those things. We just go right back on, just like when horses spook. We don't make a big deal of it. We just keep going. We act like there's nothing there. So just like when the horse has a little skip to its beat there, so to speak, like what we just saw with the little nose popping up, we just go right on, just engage him forward from the leg again, remembering that engaging forward means to engage the horse forward under the body, not to run forward. Always remembering that if we go past a certain speed, the horse has no choice but to run itself onto the forehand. So we have to find that perfect speed with each and every horse, and that changes as the horses develop and get more over their backs consistently. But Yvonne's doing a wonderful job here. She's brought this horse along using our video critique service for a while. It was great to be able to meet her in person and all our friends in Europe. It was a great trip, and I was just so encouraged by all the people who came and how much work they'd done on their own to as Yvonne has done here, to get in the right direction with their horses and begin to get them working over their backs. So you can see she does a really nice job of finessing him into that contact and just getting him a little deeper as we go. So still just a little bit of inconsistency in the rhythm, going up and down a little bit, but nothing too bad, but not perfectly connected yet. So let's see a little bit of the work that we did to try to get this horse a little more perfectly connected over its back and see if you can see the difference in the trot. So watching the legs there in that last clip, you could see that they were looking pretty together, but there wasn't that sense of just perfect rhythm in them yet. So here we're going to do a little work in hand, which Yvonne does a great job with. Now notice how she's staying back towards the horse's shoulder, and she's not doing one of the biggest mistakes that people do, is crowd up on the horses. You want to keep some distance back from you and walk along the shoulder just as you see her doing here. So while we see this horse, this is a good one to watch because you can see his belly. This horse was a little bit overweight. It's early grass spring season there, and the horses are getting fed a lot of food. But we can also see behind the saddle there that when the horse goes hollow, you can see how the dip becomes a little more prominent behind the saddle there. So Yvonne is just getting this horse to stretch up through the back. But watch how differently the walk is. As he stretches down, you'll even see how the belly will start to come up. He doesn't look so much like he might be giving birth sometime soon. So once again, the back muscles and the abdominal muscles all work together, just like Pilates for human beings. It's core strengthening. So the abdominal muscles have to lift as the back lifts. They work in conjunction with one another. But they mustn't be over-tightened in the abdominal muscle, and that's something that can mistake people. If you see a horse that's all drawn up like a greyhound, they can be completely hollow and be drawn up like a greyhound. That's a very bad kind of over-tension of the muscles, or it can mean that the horse has had no water for days, so something to think about. But great job here in this lateral work. She's really getting to step through and stretch into the contact. And look how much more consistent and long the walk is becoming as she's doing this work, and how much longer the neck is becoming. So often when we start with horses, that have been ridden hollow for their whole lives, which can be 20 years in some cases, the horses that we run into, they've literally forgotten how to use the correct set of muscles. They've forgotten, like a person, who's just been, sitting in a chair for years and years and years. They forget how to use their legs, how to use their back, how to hold their posture in the right position. And it's just as important for people as well to remember that, the healthiest older people you'll ever see or meet have the best posture. That's because posture, keeps, whether you're a horse or a human being, is what keeps your abdominal muscles working so that your internal organs are kept in good shape. And just like a horse, if its belly hangs down and there's no support on the abdominal muscles, it's going to have a much easier chance of colicking because the guts twist up inside. But what a beautiful job she's done here with that. So that's just about what we'd like to see. That was pretty picture perfect. She got him really stretching into the outside contact. and establishing the things that she needed when she will next ride the horse to be able to get the horse stretching into a deeper contact and more consistent. So she gives him a little bit of a reward there, which is perfectly fine. I'm a big believer, as long as horses are not pestering you, but especially young horses when they come into the ring, we want to give them a little something in the ring. Every great horseman I've ever known has given their horses a piece of sugar or something in the ring. So it's a little something in it for them other than just a pat on the neck. But once again, really beautiful work here by Yvon, and the horse really to stretch into the contact. Watch as the horse's head and neck goes down. Always watch what the effect of that has on the back end. So when you see horses that rather stuck in the mud look about their hind legs as they start to swing, as this one, watch as his head goes down, how much more the swing is. As the head comes up, you can see how the hocks just stop moving. So that's how interconnected it all is along the top line. So if any part of that top line becomes truncated at any time, you're going to have a shortening of the horse's gaits, which is not the same thing as collection. Once again, that's the big thing we have to get in people's minds, that collection is not just pulling a horse into a shortened frame, as we see so often happening. Now, once again, if you have one of these $1 million movers and you pull them in like that, you get somewhat to onlookers who don't know what they're looking at, some impressive looking gaits where the horses are flinging their front legs out and they're snapping their knees up. But to a real horseman, you know that the connection is all about the synchronicity between the front and back end of the horse. So whenever that becomes disunited, that is, the front and back end are not moving in the same rhythm, the horse is no longer over its back, and everything you do is going to create damage to the horse. So really great stretch here. She gets to the end of this. Now in a moment here, she's going to try a little piaffe with the horse, which is the first time she's done this. She did a really nice job of doing that, which we'll see here in just a moment. And it's a really great example of exactly what you're looking for. Remembering that when we start horses in piaffe, we must have them first working on the weight of the rein. Otherwise, when we try to work them in the piaffe, they're just going to bolt right through your hands and they're going to be gone. So that's the prerequisite. Once you have that and the horse is stretching into the contact, now you can see how she touches and the horse is a little misunderstanding what she wants and it tries to run forward and she just stops it again. But watch how now, when she touches it this time, it just lifts that diagonal pair. And that's exactly what we're looking for. That's all we're looking for in the first time you do. If you get that and the first time you ask a horse to piaffe, you're on your way, because it just takes a little bit while longer and pretty soon the horse will be piaffing on both diagonals, and then there you are. That's all there really is to it. So look how we end up here, how much slower and deeper this trot is. So Yvon's done a really great job of connecting this horse now over its back. And if you compare this to the very first trot that we saw, you'll see that there's a lot more swinging and a lot more active. But yet at the same time, it's slower. If you look at it, it almost is more mesmerizing. And that's the beauty of a horse that's really connected over its back. The movement becomes mesmerizing. It's not something that you want to hoot and holler about. It's something that moves you to an aesthetic, appreciation of that nature's design unflowing in front of you, so to speak, in perfect harmony. And that's what we want to look for. That's what dressage is really all about. Once you feel this kind of soft swingingness in a horse, it's something you never want to lose, because you really feel like you're riding a wave, so to speak. As you hear me talk about many times, it's like being a surfer, but the wave never ends. You can just stay up on top of that ball right there if you watch the ball rolling over the ground. And once again, how much more perfectly in sync this horse's back end and front end are in this particular little clip of video. Even though he comes up and down a little bit, but it's much quieter. There isn't that sense of how he was popping his nose before. Right there, it's perfect. And that would be what I would call the optimal trot for this horse. So Yvon has done a very, very good job with this. And I was very pleased after only a few days with her in Holland of how completely connected we got her and her sister's horse, who you're going to see in a moment, Diane, who is so kind in helping us put on the clinic. We had such a great time there. I was very ill, and Yvon's family did a great job of taking care of me while I was there, and we got through it happily. But I will be forever grateful to them. Beautiful trot where we're ending up. As I said, you notice even when the horse came up and down, we didn't get that sense of it just bracing that lower neck like we saw in the first video. Now there's the perfect stride for this horse. So Yvonne's doing a wonderful job with this. She's one of our associate trainers. As I've told you before, if anybody's looking for someone to work with outside of Amsterdam, I highly recommend that you get in touch, and we'll be going back there to give clinics. Now I wanted to add on here, this is a little clip of Diane, who is Yvonne's sister, who's fairly new to this work, but her horse took to it like a duck to water, as we'd say. And look how beautifully, this is the second day that I worked with her. And look how lovely this horse is beginning to connect over its back. I don't think she'd ever quite experienced anything quite like this before. As I said, once you do, it's a total different experience of riding than you've ever had before. You get this sense of just harmony and at one-ness with the horse, and that can only happen if the horse is comfortable in the work, and that can only happen if the horse is working over its back and not being forced into some artificial frame for some kind of artificial gaits. Even if you want to call it dressage. Once again, you can call something anything, but if a horse that's tense, and stiff over its back or hollow over its back is not doing dressage, because every step you take is going to be injuring the horse. But look how this horse, once he gets into that stretch, how lovely he's staying connected over his back, and you get that sense of just that springiness. You can see how he kind of hollows there a little bit, and you can see how the hind legs immediately start to fall out behind. Unfortunately, some people have the wrong idea about the stretching horses, because I think they've seen, it was popular in American Western riders to kind of do this peanut rolling thing with the horse's noses on the ground, where they don't really engage them through swinging through behind, so they just kind of go around with the horse's nose on the ground. And of course, the horse never will develop. I mean, getting the horse to stretch forward is just finding, that position that facilitates the horse swinging through its back. But if we don't ask it to come through in back and we just let its nose be on the ground, well, yes, of course, the horse is always going to be on the forehand. It's never going to develop. And that's the point of real dressage, that the horses develop. But look how beautifully this one has developed. Only just a few days, we saw this horse come beautifully round right there. Look how completely relaxed the underside of the neck is. And once again, if you look at this one, when we started, this horse looked a little bit on the pregnant side, so to speak. I said all the horses here have been out on very, very lush grass in the springtime here, and they tend to gain a little weight. And this one certainly had gained a little too. But once again, watch as this horse is gone, how that belly has almost disappeared. So Diane did a really wonderful job, as Diane and Yvon both did, of putting on the clinic. We had a wonderful time and look forward to seeing them all very soon, and certainly next year, if not before. Now, Yvon will be having a website linked to our site very soon, so if you want more information on her, that should be available pretty soon through a link through our website. So once again, this is Will Faerber with my good friends Yvon Overhorst and her sister Diane, working in Holland. Look forward to seeing them again soon.